All right. Get him loaded up.
I'm woken up by all the controversy and debate. We should have controversy and debate in every segment. Keep me awake.
Obey the Joe.
Let's do video.
What do we have going on here?
Are you receiving my audio?
Yes.
Excellent.
What do you call yourself?
Obey the Joe.
The video does not appear to be on Facebook Live.
There's about a 10-second delay. It should be up just about now.
Excellent. Let me know when you're ready with the slides for me to begin.
I guess we're ready, Joe. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'll get the screen pulled up here, and I'm ready when you are.
Excellent. I intend to stay in character. I hope everyone was paying attention about avoiding snake oil salesmen, like Josh Brzezinski says. Sorry, Josh. All right. My thesis is that influence is the new link buying. You may be wondering who I am. My name is Joe Sinkwitz, CEO of IntelliFluence. I've been in the search industry since 1997. Have managed several thousand domains and hundreds of clients. I've been fortunate enough to play in all facets of online marketing, providing for a broad perspective. Why should you listen to me, this giant marshmallow? Since launching in mid-2016, IntelliFluence has had massive growth. We have 30,000 influencers, have facilitated 16,000 transactions to date, and are in over 171 countries. I must ask, are you satisfied with your link building? Slinging links makes me a better link provider. Before we get too deep, let's look at a brief history of link building. In the beginning, there was the discovery of fire, the wheel, text link ads, fire images on Black Hat World, link wheels, ALN, SAFE, and Penguin. As a perspective, how much was I spending pre-Penguin? In TLA alone, we were spending $250,000 per month as their second largest vendor. Via various Black Hat World and Wicked Fire vendors, they're spending another $25,000 to $50,000 a month, depending upon the month. Other service vendors aggregated $50,000 to $100,000. We additionally had an internal link building team, 25 employees, 20 to 40 hours per week. Then Penguin shit on everything. I don't know if you have the videos in the PDF, but essentially I'm doing this because it blew up. Without getting into the messy details, we went from making $50,000 a day to not. So what happened? After ALN and SAFE, link buying moved away from most of the obvious crap link wheels, rented footer links, sidebar co-occurrence with payday loans. Sorry about that. PDNs, and obvious, less obvious actually, opportunities became to be more trusted, and big publications began to spike in terms of their service offerings. The post-Penguin links were a mixed bag. True, PBNs are great and will always be great if they're actually private. But if you're buying a PBN on something like Black Hat World, you are not buying a PBN. Crap PBNs continue to run into the same issues that have plagued all the networks, ALN, BMR, etc. They are statistically significant footprints that are very easy to find, where the same payday loans, again, I apologize, show up next to a bunch of car insurance sites. Again, I really must apologize for this. They show up there next to your site, and if my stuff gets banned, so will yours. Periodically, they were torched by Penguin and manual reviewers looking to make a name for themselves, bringing the attention to the engineering team. The payday loan update was named after us. Some of those big and trusted publications also started chipping the no-follow, or are hoard out so much they're about as equivalent as getting a crap-rented link from Uncle Jimmy's Mommy Blog and Viagra Emporium. They're not passing on as much value as you might think. Then, economics happens. Great link sources that have been consistently delivering are able to raise their prices. In 2011, I would not have spent $1,000 per link, but now it is all too common. So let's enter the influences. As mentioned in the beginning, we have 30,000 ourselves, and roughly 10,000 of those have blogs. My friend Lauren Baker suggested we are becoming TLA 2.0. That remains to be seen. And note, we're not the only influencer network out there. There is over 200 that I know of for sure. Here's some. I skip those. Did you get those? Go back. Andrew, please. Thank you, Andrew.
Oh.
Now back again. We don't want to give them any more attention. They aren't speaking for charity here. And I can't speak for their own data, so I'll share my own experiences. We began to see the shift ourselves shortly after launching in 2016. Agencies signing up were doing a little bit for social sales, but really were far more interested in us for links. Here we have a screenshot from Black Hat World. Since my selling initially to digital agencies due to my background, I thought they'd focus more on social sales. However, we came to find everyone that liked us in the early days really only liked us for links. So why is this happening? Am I drunk? Hundreds of thousands of development rather. I mean, we turned social selling on its ear, but it didn't matter. No one really cared. It's all about economics and psychology. Listed assets are priced far closer to fair market value than unlisted assets. And the reality is, those that were listed on, say, a Black Hat World, Wikidfire, other circulated link lists, they're closer to the real value. Those links that you're able to get that are not listed anywhere, you're able to get more of an arbitrage. And this arbitrage is exactly why outreach happens. You're trying to minimize the amount you spend in order to maximize the yield you receive on links for SEO purposes. Nothing entirely groundbreaking. I apologize, my circuitry was stuck. There's also a psychological difference in terms of the openness towards a pitch by bloggers. The reality is, receiving yet another shitty guest post offer, it doesn't excite anyone. Being told that, oh, you have 3, 4 foreign links on this page, I have another bullshit link that you can swap it out for, the broken link building tactics, they only go so far. Instead, the psychological trigger associated by playing to someone's ego is far more substantial. So, Lego me ego bait, it works. Everyone knows this already in the industry, so we can skip ahead a little. What really came into play, though, with us specifically, was the difference between warm and cold outreach. Now, I am a fan of Ninja as well as Pitchbox. However, when you are able to connect with an individual that you already have a relationship in some capacity, you're able to skip a lot of the bullshit and get down to business. Additionally, when you're able to do so, the close ratio is significantly higher. So enough of all this. Let's get down to the actionable advice. And I apologize. It's actually more difficult than you might think to do a presentation wearing a suit. The questions you must ask yourself when you're doing influencer marketing as a brand are the basics. What are you selling? To whom? Who are those people's peers? How could you reach those people's peers? How could you reach the end buyer? How should you pitch them? And at this point in the presentation, are we really going to be going through this? So let's pull up a beautiful picture of this handsome, burly man. This example is for nutritional supplements that I've broken out. Specifically, protein powders sold to fat guys that pretend to be into fitness. As I mentioned, I only look like a marshmallow on the outside. For ease, I am your buyer persona. For the next couple of weeks at least, a late 30s professional with some disposable income and maybe a bit more into appearing in the fitness than actually being in the fitness. Since we care about links as our KPI in this use case, we don't have to get so dialed in on which social selling and networks we're going to focus on. We just care about blogs. We're SEOs. However, I will contend that relevant links are more important than irrelevant links.
Amen.
So I pulled up a few peers from our system, and we're going to just take a brief look. Who are those particular people? All we did was filter on some basic health, nutrition, fitness, supplement type filters for people that happen to have blogs. How do we reach them? I'm going to cheat. I am a black hat. I use my own system. Now, again, I have nothing against Ninja, Outreach, and Pitchbox. I recommend them both. They're very solid tools. The biggest difference, though, is with those, you're reaching out to people that you may not have a relationship with. With a closed network and a warm network, you're extending your potential in terms of your ability to give that link if they're already telling you via signaling being in the network that they want to get reviews, that they're willing to give one up. Now we're going to pitch with a purpose. One thing I cannot stand is people that waste other people's times. It's the biggest mistake that we see in our own data, going through other brands and what they're trying to do. If someone's already connected and they're in a network and they say that they want to be pitched, don't give them 15 paragraphs about how special you are. Instead, give them something extremely brief. Within the first couple of sentences, explain the value you're providing to them, and then offer something in exchange. So I have some examples here. I want to sell a protein powder. So I pitch, hi, my company's looking for qualified nutritional bloggers, and you certainly seem to fit the bill. I'm already letting them know in this signal that they are whom I want. What I'd like to do is send you a sample of my awesome sauce chocolate banana peach berry creamsicle powder and give you $50 in exchange for an honest review of the product. Our product URL for this review is chocolate.awesomesauce.powder/peach-berry-creamsicle-powder. Let me know your address and PayPal, and we'll get the product sent right away. For that particular example, what we wanted to do was let them know exactly what we were going to be offering and what we were going to receive in exchange. Very straightforward. Now, specifically, oh, that dog doesn't like me either. Hurry, baby. Now, Ron Fishkin will tell you how much to pay for follow-ups. I will tell you that my companies are actually profitable, therefore you should just instead. Most of my sales and pulled out occur between messages 3 and 7, meaning if I had given up, I would not have made the sale and have helped that client improve. Please pay attention to that. When you're focused on pitching, you have an offer of value, give them something different each time you're following up. Sweeten the pot. Give them new actionable information. Whatever you could do to increase your yield for them. If you're already spending time and energy to identify this person, do not leave it. So I have a sample follow-up. Let's say when I reached out to you, hoping you'd like this unique flavor, I hope you didn't find it off-putting. Can I interest you instead in a vanilla, low-carb, gluten-free vegan option? I think you'd fit given the history of the space, so it'd be a big help. My manager let me pay $75 for a blog post. URL on this is vanilla.awesomesauce.powder/low-carb, gluten-free, bucket or disgusting. Shoot me over your address and PayPal, and we'll take care of it. Thank you. So what we did there was we increased the offer. We acknowledged the reality that they did not respond to me. We're not doing this just with brain dead. And we tried to make it go forward. The other aspect is to amplify all your work. I like to use amplify signals for a variety of amplification of the SEO, I guess, off-page issues. They do a variety of things. I work with them closely. But for the purpose of what I'm describing here, is if you let the influencer know up front that you're willing to assist in building their own reputation, their own audience online, they're going to be more willing to not only complete the initial blog post, but they'll go and share it themselves. Now, if they go and share something and you share their work, it ends up being more effective. Gravitate did a wonderful study on this with NASCAR drivers versus NASCAR itself and the promotion of posts which have better engagement. The posts that were created by the drivers themselves outperformed the brand significantly. And the final piece after amplification is to perform a post-mortem. I don't know why people don't do this in the industry, but if you aren't collecting data, you are marketing blindly and are an idiot. The best way to move forward is to gauge your success rate by critically evaluating the various pitches. Dissect them. Was it the subject line, the content link, the value offered, what you were trying to reach out to? Was it the wrong network, the wrong person? Keep iterating. I will contend that relevant links and past relevant traffic are hard to beat, but your mileage will obviously vary and therefore you must test. Now for a little bit more dirty stuff, because I know there are some people that run PBMs, link sellers in a house. You should be signing up for every single influencer marketing network that's in existence. Associate each of your domains with a persona, separate personas, and start to build them up. Some beautiful things happen with this. Click next. Not only is the quality of clients higher, because these are actually brands reaching out to you for links instead of the local yokel payday loan affiliate guy like me. It's higher quality stuff. But additionally, if you actually do a good job building up the personas, you get additional revenue streams from those social channels. If you want to pretend to be a talent manager and grow it with a staple of hundreds of thousands of influencers, you can make that happen. Let's just skip that on. So I came up with a coupon code for those that are interested in this type of service. This is for the people that are on the call. It's 24 hours is the coupon code. It's good for 24 off for life. And I'm going to get out of this particular costume and continue the Q&A as a human, please.
Okay. Cool. Oh, let me get this figured back out here. So who is that? Is that from a movie or what?
Oh God, fuck, man, really? It's from Big Hero 6. It's a kids movie. My kids love it.
Oh,
So
that's a 9-year-old if she watched it.
My daughter was having a superhero birthday party, and it worked so great. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do presentations of this. So that's what happened there.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Hey, put your microphone down by your mouth.
Really? All right.
Cool, bro.
Hey, baby, how you doing?
Oh, you're so sexy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, really, there was some ORM stuff going on earlier on a previous presentation. Our other business, so we have two businesses here. One is IntelliFluence, which is obviously the software as a service. We also run something called Digital Heretics, which is, I guess you can call it more of a black hat ORM agency. So there may be questions across a variety of things. Happy to answer what I can answer.
Craig Road wants to know, ask him about the FTC requirements for influencer marketing and to make it legit.
Absolutely. So I am actually pro-compliance. All it really means is disclosure. Now, the disclosure can vary significantly by network. And some of them, all you have to do is do a hashtag ad, something along those lines, like for Instagram and Twitter, and that's kind of sufficient. What's interesting is like in our own data. So we do tests within our own network. We also take a look to see, what are people doing and how is it reacting when they provide us with the various like UTM type URLs and tracking in the Google Analytics. And what we found so far is that disclosing is not negatively impacting the bottom line. Therefore, it's going to be pretty much always in your best interest disclosed. I really am pro disclosure. It's pretty interesting because for most of the audiences, they already know that this is not a natural thing. Like no one goes to Caitlyn Jenner's, not Caitlyn, no one looks at him anyways. No, but no one goes to like the Kylie Jenner's, Instagram channel and looks at all the fit tea stuff and says, oh, wow, she must, really love this tea. She's getting paid buttloads of money to do it. Right. And they're very aware of it. Now, unfortunately, that particular family is one of the main reasons why this stuff gets promoted to the FTC, because they are consistently not disclosing. And it's really upsetting. I want to say last year, a little over a year ago, Terry Goodyear and I presented at Ungagged, where we did a dark influence. And so what we did was we looked to see, what areas of influence exist out there that are not disclosed. And so we looked at like politics and war, and there's a lot of crazy shit we uncovered that will go in a very dark direction for political reasons. But in that, we did find like a lot of the top people weren't disclosing, and there was just really no good reason. And a lot of the articles written are about that.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
I remember we spoke on the show a few weeks ago about the that fake campaign where they wanted the politicians to wear like the logos of every donor they had, kind of like a race team driver or something.
Yeah, why not?
And the mock-ups were like ridiculous because of how much hidden money each one of them's getting.
Yeah, and that's just the stuff that they're aware of. I mean, what we found wasn't so much the money on that level, although that is a little bit more discoverable just due to campaign finance rules. What we were finding was we were trying to determine why certain stuff was getting retweeted by Donald Trump at the time. And we were able to trace stuff all the way back. So we'd go through the channel and we would pop over to like the Donald channel on Reddit. And then from there, it'd go back even further. There's 4chan stuff. We try to trace like, okay, where is this coming from? A lot of it was like Eastern European IPs. We weren't able to draw any connections on our own, but we're basically like, isn't this really weird? And then nothing happened. Like we got some interview requests with Mother Jones and Washington Post. So I ended up speaking with the Washington Post reporter on national security. And so we were talking about, and they really wanted to say like, can you prove it was the Russians? Like, I can't prove shit. Like, I could prove that a lot of this stuff that gets retweeted as fact is actually just coming from trolls. Is that good enough? That's pretty messed up by itself. But unfortunately, it died there.
Were you at Ungagged this year?
I was, yes.
What'd you think of it this year?
It was bigger. So they changed. What?
It was bigger, okay.
Yeah. It was like they sold out. I was talking to Damien, and he was saying that they brought a new marketing guy, and they were able to sell out London and then Vegas. And I just confirmed my flights, so I'm going to be in London in June for the next show.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we were out in Vegas, but I don't know if we're going to go back to Ungagged. I don't know.
It didn't seem like there was enough networking for us. Like I like the kind of Brighton SEO vibe where it's pretty much just all networking, and there's a few presentations if you feel like it. Whereas Ungagged, it felt more like there was very little networking.
Yeah, I've not been to Brighton, so I really can't speak to that.
Anyways, I didn't mean to get off topic. Craig has another question. Do you know Lee Ouden, and what does he think about his push for influence marketing?
I do know Lee a little bit. We've had dinner a couple times as like, two guys at a table of 15 people. I share some of his stuff. He shares some of mine. That's about the extent of the relationship. So I know he's been pushing Tracker, and it appears to be doing pretty good. Lee speaks at a ton of conferences. So I think he's on the road quite a bit selling. But beyond that, I mean, he sends a positive message for influencer marketing. So I completely get behind that.
He has another question. Have you ever done damage control if your influencer has ruined their credibility?
That's a good question. I mean, so like again, I do reputation management. Now, I haven't had. That's a good question. Like, I haven't had any of the influencers in my network reach out to me to be a client, of mine on the agency. Mm-hmm. It would be the same thing though as anyone else. It would be just a situation of how are we going to drown it out? Where is the negative really taking place? Is it something I can bury with more content created? Is it something where I have to attack the link portfolio that's propping up the piece? Do I need to take the site down? Do I need to slow it down? Do I need to change direction? Do I need to bribe someone? What do I need to do? So you pretty much approach it the same way. I drop a link to Amplify Signals. I think it's amplifysignals.com. So I am friends with those guys. Let's say Nick and Will. They're fun. They were actually at Ungagged as well. I don't know if you guys met them. But I don't know if it's in jest or not.
I was pretty drunk that week. I don't know.
I did a master class, and that was hard. It was just 4 hours of sitting there and teaching people how to go through like creating a campaign from scratch. And I find it to be pretty straightforward stuff, but it's just because we live it, right? So whenever you have to sit there and do it, you find it monotonous for yourself, and you realize they're getting value. But like, I just kept wanting to like throw stuff in, and I think I just completely overwhelmed some people.
I have one more question. Do you tag the links you send over and use the analytical data to build custom audiences and pay-per-click campaigns?
That's not a product feature that we do. I mean, if I'm doing something myself, I am already going to be knowing based on the landing page that we use where the traffic's coming in, because we're going to tag the landing page more than the link. What I get a little concerned, and like I go back and forth on this, like, should we create shorteners for all our brands? Now, if we do that, there's going to be a guy like me at another network that's going to say, hey, here's the shortener they use for all their brands. Let's just pwn it, because that's what I do. I mean, so like, I don't personally do that. I will use custom landing pages, and then based on the visitors there, pull that out and use, put them in a custom Facebook audience. But it's low on my priority list. I mean, I got too many other things to do.
Fair enough. Craig keeps saying drop the link. I guess he wants you to type it in.
I can't, because it looks like Jared responded with the correct answer that can't drop links in. Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't want to work right, but whatever.
It's YouTube. YouTube's by Google. Google fucking sucks. What do you expect?
That's true.
True that. William McConnell, do you think explosive growth using other people's content, especially Facebook plagiarism, and building social profiles and gaining an audience is fair for influencers to then charge for access?
I'm trying to parse this question. So William, are you asking if I were to go and scrape all your stuff and throw it on Facebook and get likes and people subscribe to my channel, is that what you're asking? If that would be fair for me to leverage your stuff for? I mean, fair, no. Legal, probably not. But you have to contest it yourself. So there's gonna be people that do that. I wouldn't advocate for building up my own presence. Like, if you actually want a name to yourself, then you have to take all the nasty shit that comes with it. So like, if you're flat out stealing from people to build up your own name, not wise. Now, if we go back to like the PBN guys, if they're essentially creating automated scrapers to dump into the social personas that I suggest they create to build up those personas, they may not care, and they'd probably get away with it for a long while. Cool.
Craig has another question. Can you name 3 factors people should look for in influencers?
Yes. Relevance is the biggest one for me.
I agree.
And so like, so I define relevance as almost an equation. So I look at it in terms of the audience size is what most people gear into. Look at the audience size, how much it's going to cost, the categorical relevance, and the audience relevance. And then from there, I try to create a little equation. I wrote a guide on this. It's on my blog. You can get it for free somewhere. But if you approach it mathematically when you're dealing with a whole bunch of different people, it'll help you to zero in on which influencer is best. Then it comes down to a reality of what's the KPI that you're chasing, and what is the value that's extracted once the KPI is hit. And once you know those things, you can kind of look back and say, well, if there's not a big difference between a couple influencers and the results are outsized, just get all 3 or all 4 or whatever you're looking at. I am still finding that influencers, the real influencers, they tend to be cheap. I say real versus like celebrity. I break it out in 3 types. So you have the celebrity, they're like the aspirational influencers. That's what everyone kind of like loves and worships. They're mostly not necessary for almost everything unless you're doing giant campaigns. There's like the authority guys. Like if Steve is going to be talking about an SEO tool, he is an authoritative influencer to his audience insofar as they trust that he's going to know what he's talking
Exactly.
about. That's something. Now, but if he goes and he starts talking about, what were you drinking earlier? You're drinking some whiskey?
Yeah. I was just. It's
So
just.
he starts thinking about whiskey. The girl like, fucking, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
Right.
So like, it wouldn't play
point.
off. It wouldn't play off as well. And then you have like the peers, like your friends, your close knit group. You tend to trust them for random decisions a lot more than you trust a celebrity. Like if my buddy says, "Man, these are the best lifting shoes I've ever worn," I'm going to trust him way more than even the guy that's recommending the same pair in the back of a muscle magazine.
Cool. Craig had another. Might as well keep going. What's better, a profile with a lot of followers and a little posts, or a core group with lots of posts? So I think kind of answer that.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing too. Like, okay, so everyone knows that it's possible to buy fake friends and fake followers. It's unfortunately just as possible, but a little bit more expensive and a little bit more nuanced, to buy fake engagement. So what you're really looking to do there, like the core group, if you're familiar with Instagram, Instagram has Instagram pods, where a group of people, as soon as someone does their initial share, they all know that they need to share it and comment on it within a specific period of time per Instagram's algorithm. So if you're trusting a group like that for a niche that you're specifically targeting, absolutely, they could blow it out of the water. But I think it's an it depends type of answer.
He says, final question. Must be
You
something
can ask as
coming.
many questions as you want, man. I like answering questions.
Yeah. TikTok, Craig, come on.
Is it about my beard and how I keep it so untrimmed? All I do is I just wake up, and it just grows.
That's amazing.
And it's hard to get back in the United States wearing it. I wish that was a joke. So how much have you guys raised for St. Jude before the last question?
We're at $4,007.
Right on.
Plus,
I mean, there's got to be at least 300 in merch as well. So I think we're on about 4.3 now.
Cool. Okay, the question. With the changes of Facebook organic business posts, do you ask the influencer to post on his own or share your post?
I would absolutely ask the influencer to post on their own. So the change, when it ultimately rolls out, right? We don't totally know until we start seeing all the data, but everything seems to indicate that the influencer industry is going to benefit from this mightily, because you're getting in front of the same audiences you want to get in front of for like ad purposes, but instead it's from a personal perspective.
Right.
I would have them post and then share their post versus have them share mine. And so I mentioned it briefly. I understand I had 2 internal fan units on that damn thing, so you may not have heard. But so Gravitate is another agency. They did a really good study on the NASCAR stuff, and it was pretty accurate. It was Facebook itself, where the NASCAR driver posts just did significantly better than the ones that NASCAR themselves created and have the same people amplify.
For sure. Does anybody else out there have questions? We still have about 25 minutes of...
I could talk about all sorts of stuff, man. I mean, how dark you guys want to go?
Well, we did say there would be some black hats, so I guess if no one's got any more white hat questions, you can pretty much say what you want now.
Yeah, okay, finally. I mean, really? It's. I don't consider it difficult black hat. It's really just skirting the TOS, and that's lots of fake friends, lots of domains, getting them in, adding them all together over time, creating your own little link networks. Fairly basic stuff. I've seen in some of the influence networks that we infiltrated to get people to join ours, it's already kind of rampant. I mean, we try to get away from that by creating a closed review loop system, where we're trying to do it where the brand at the end of a transaction is asked for feedback, and it's like 5 questions, 5-star ratings. It's a lot harder to manipulate that if you have to jump through a transaction to do it than any other metric. But like all the metrics for engagement are just wildly bad. All the Fortune 500s that come in here, they want to know, like, what's the engagement rate? Like, stop asking about that. You should say, like, how much am I going to get in sales? And then we can go from there. That's much better for you.
Craig would like to join live on the call.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Why not?
I guess he asked all the questions so far, so may as well.
Why can't I find Craig? What's his name on here?
CRHODEJR.
Right. C Road. Come on. Call. There we go.
And now he's going to get a ton of requests from people that were listening to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, I'm going to disappear for a minute while you guys talk.
All right. What's up, man?
Right.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Question.
I'm a big fan of your work, so it's quite the honor to talk to you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, welcome to the show.
All right, well, I'm going to disappear for a minute while you guys talk.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I gotta close this window here.
Not a problem.
Okay. So let me ask you some serious questions here. With the organic growth decreasing with Facebook and small businesses, really, I think is really going to be affected by this. Would you recommend personally for a small business to see who are influencers in their town, say like in 25? Would that be beneficial, and would that be possible in the current environment that we're in?
So is it possible? Yes. So I know that we offer hyperlocal targeting. So you could type in someone's like zip code and find people locally. So I know possible, yes. Useful, again, I think it kind of depends. It's like, let's say you're doing like a store opening and your entire purpose is to just make it look busy. That's fucking easy to do. I mean, you just need to get 25, 50 people to show up when it's opening, queue in a line. Nothing attracts lemmings more than a line. And so people are like, oh, well, my favorite photo this week, and I think it was today that I saw it, was the line in Seattle for the automated checkout store for Amazon. People were waiting in a line literally so they could avoid waiting in lines checking out. That's just gold. That probably wasn't very helpful. So like there's other things though too. Like I want to give you my guide because I talk about locality as well, where we talk about, is it necessary for the influencer to be local if the product is local? And that depends too, like you're talking like flowers. You know, maybe it doesn't matter if you have local locations to have a local influencer if the product is somewhat national by itself, and just talking about it generally is sufficient. Sometimes it's going to matter significantly if it's like the local football coach for the high school talking about his favorite place to eat after the game in a local newspaper. That's significantly more impactful. So I like to build decision matrices, and so I have a matrices for that. So when I put this camera back up on top of the monitor, I'll grab a link and send that to you.
Lee Odin talked about this last month, and that's kind of why I brought it up, because I'm in Minnesota, and he's kind of a big dog in Minnesota.
Okay. And
he talks, all he does is yip, yip, yip about influencer marketing. And sometimes I get angry at him because he doesn't talk about the FTC requirements. He just says, just do it. So last month, though, he was talking about 3 stages of vetting. Is that you take a look at the profile, you take a look at his traffic, and you take a look at how they're engaging with their fans. Personally, on your level, once you achieved your influencer, you set up the campaign. What steps do you personally take to follow and maintain that the campaign is being followed according to what's been set up?
Once I've already vetted the influencer and I'm going through the transactional flow, I'm just looking to see if they followed through. I'm just looking to see, did they make the review? Because at that point, whether I get a fantastic traffic value or not is almost immaterial. I've already committed to it. Then it just goes to the post-mortem where I look at the end of the campaign. Okay, go through the stats. What did I get? Which of these guys was worthwhile? Why? Was I off somewhere? Like looking at how they engage with their audiences and stuff, it's really time consuming. So like if you're dealing with like a small dollar item product, or you're just looking to do a ton of volume, you don't probably have time to do that. If you're engaging with 50 or 100 influencers, like it's going to be your entire day. Instead, do like a rough heuristic of like, hey, this guy is in this industry. It looks like he's done a few of these things in the past. Therefore, he's probably okay. I'm not going to, highball him. I'm not going to lowball him either. I'm going to give him fair value. If he accepts and follows through, fantastic. And then that's probably the extent of it that I would go through.
Okay. So old school type of influencer marketing has always been like newspaper articles, radio, centralized media. Mm-hmm. But with the decline of newspapers and basically the collapse of traditional radio, do you see, when you look at an influencer, do you look at the fact that they have a podcast? And a follow-up question to that, is it in bad taste to request a report from the influencer on what has been done on their end?
Okay, so the podcast question, we collect that as a possible medium type, simply because we had enough people that asked for podcasts. So sure, if I feel that it's going to benefit me having my brand mentioned on a podcast, I kind of look at podcasts similarly to how I'd look at YouTube. Is it going to be entirely about, is in the entire episode going to be about the product? Is it just going to be like a shout out? Is it going to be kind of casually mentioned? What's the whole point? For the report, I think you could do whatever you want so long as you're letting them know up front. If I said up front in my campaign details like, hey, I really want podcasters. I'm hoping to collect this information at the end. Are you okay with that? That's not in bad taste. It's bad taste if you do something and they have no idea, and then you say like, hey, where's my report? And they're like, what report? What are you talking about? Here's the podcast episode. Listen for yourself. Then it's a little bit iffy. I think most of the problems that occur, and we unfortunately encounter a lot of problems just by virtue of people trying to connect and fumbling their way through it, is unclear expectations. The more clear you are in saying, this is exactly what I'm going to give you, this is exactly what I expect in return, the far better it goes for everyone.
Okay. Final question, if we have time.
Of course, man.
Jake Nelson, he runs a digital agency in California. He wrote a really good article called The FanDuel Promo Code Problem. And back in the day when FanDuel and all those sports betting sites were buying mass chunks of advertisement, they were using promo codes with numbers. And not a lot of people realize is that those promo codes and numbers were used to measure the ROI on their investment with the radio ad. But the problem is that there were so many promo codes that it caused a massive problem on their end. So with that being said, when you talk to an influencer and you say like I'm an e-commerce store, now I'm going to set up a promo code. Have you ever done that? And what's the proper steps to make sure that you're measuring the correct ROI on that promo code with that influencer?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, and like I think it gets back to like the UTM campaigns where you can have the ABC variables. So I go back through and I say, okay, one, are they going to even be open to promo codes? Most influencers themselves are going to be open to it because it usually means that there's going to be a discount associated that they could pass on to their audience. So that's the easy part. Whether that's going to be baked into the URL itself or whether it's going to be passed along as a variable is a different situation. If it is, then I can try to convince them that for the secondary layer of the variable, that they attribute it to a specific source. It's like every time they're pasting it, they're going to be putting it in Twitter, mark it as Twitter. If it's going to be Facebook, mark it as Facebook, etc. It's not going to be adhered to 100%, but at least it gives you a little bit extra understanding of where the traffic's coming from. Beyond that, I am actually a really big fan of using promo codes. I like pairing it with a contest where, are you familiar with like a Viper.io? I think it's VYPER.io. Australian company. They do incentivized laddered contests type stuff. So you perform one action, you get something. Perform another action, you get something more. Perform a third action, something even bigger. There's ways to create a contest campaign where the influencer is getting kickbacks in addition to the discounts that they're passing on to their audience. And then you could do it where, in order to get that specialized discount, they themselves have to go and jump through another set of hoops, whether it's give their email beforehand, whatever it might be. I've seen those do really well in certain markets like cosmetics. I'm sure it's going to vary a lot by industry, but I like those things. I like complicated campaigns that allow you to do multiple things. It's not that I dislike the simplicity of here's a code, post it, and we'll figure it out later. But I like when there's multiple moving pieces because not everyone can do it. And so if you're able to handle that and deliver great ROI, then you're that much more valuable to the client.
All right, bitches. I'm on at 10 o'clock tonight. See you later.
Excellent. Yeah, I'll get that guide link for you.
Can we email each other? I would love to talk to you more. Sure. I just feel like I'm taking too much of this time up here.
It's an hour for charity. Did you donate some money to the charity? If so, then you're good, man.
I'm giving away a lot of stuff at 10.
Then you're good. You keep talking. We got another 10 minutes here. Absolutely, you can email.
John Keys had a quick question. Do you have local focused influencers on the platform?
Yeah. So like specifically with the United States, what we do now, we didn't do it in the very beginning, but we figured out that we had to do it after a while, is we ask to collect their mailing address for when people want to send them product. Well, that made it a hell of a lot easier for us to then say like, okay, Sears, bad example. They're not going to be opening a store. They're going to be closing a store. Yeah. Let's say you want to go to the Sears grand closing. And so they do a campaign for 85255, which is a zip code in Arizona, because there's going to be a Sears that's closing and they're looking for influencers. Then yes, then you'd be able to go in and create a campaign specifically around that type of thing. The need of it really depends. Like I noticed some PR companies that I sign up as agency brands, they're really big on local, but oftentimes for like kind of non-reasons. Like they just like, oh, my client is in the city. It's really important we have people in the city. But then all the campaigns they do are national, so it doesn't even matter.
Cool. Steve and I used to do, before we really knew what to call it influencer marketing, we used to do a fair bit of this for people with physical products. And
new is old again.
Years ago, yeah. And thinking back, I think you'll know the client I'm talking about. We had a lot of issues where people didn't actually meet their commitments of doing what we had arranged for them to do. Is that still something?
Absolutely. So it actually prompted me. I'm building something right now, and I don't think Stripe's going to like me calling it an escrow model, but it's an escrow model. So what would happen is the brand will provide cash up front, and the influencer will see, okay, they're not going to specifically stiff me. Maybe the network does, but the cash is here. Influencer says, okay, send me product. It goes to them. They mark product received, or whatever it might be. They're not going to get the cash until they're done, and then everything's been taken care of. The biggest issue with that, and like those escrows, it'll cut down on issues quite a bit, but you still can't account for, if I'm sending you this softball because you're going to do a softball review, if you just ghost, you just disappear, I still probably don't have any recourse. Meaning if there's cash associated, yeah, I could withhold that, but for like product, probably not.
Yeah, that's basically what
Yeah, a
we'd
lot of
send it
people
out
like to
and
make
like
the product. Yeah.
they'd take the couple $100 worth of stuff or whatever, and it's like, well, okay, thanks.
There's
What are you gonna
there's
do?
a little bit that you can do. So like you still know what their social accounts are. I mean, if you're going to get dirty, you're going to get dirty. So,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
there's a lot of things you do. Like the biggest times we've seen this currently is we do a ton of Amazon reviews, like just a shitload. Where I guess we had success with one Chinese brand, and dude told all his friends, and I fucking love them because they all signed up, and they list 1,000 products each, and then the influencers come and they just gobble and they say, yes, I want this, I want this, I want this. And then like 3 or 4 weeks later, I start to see flagged transactions where they're saying, hey, I sent this, they didn't do anything, and we have to go in and find out why. And it wasn't the wrong address. They actually, that happens more than you'd like to believe. They put in their own wrong address, or it's just a situation where they got it and they forgot about it, or they didn't get it because it just mail didn't get there. But it's a low percentage. And I think it's kind of acceptably low for the most part.
Right.
We haven't had any significant fraud, and that's the thing I've been on the lookout for. I'm like, when am I going to get hit with huge fraud? Thankfully, it hasn't happened.
Oh, that's good. I guess it almost seems inevitable with the way they are, but it's been a while now, so maybe knock on wood.
Yeah, you know what? You could probably try it again. Maybe now it would work a little bit different. I mean, I don't know how long ago it was that you did this.
Couple of years.
We are looking.
We didn't have much stolen. I mean, in total,
No,
$100 worth of stuff or something. But
What
it was
was
just
the
kind of
type
annoying.
Because the
It
type
was
of
kitchenware.
kitchenware.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know I did some vaping stuff, and that just disappears.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And like, come on, man.
I
That was
bet-
actually what this influencer. Like, that's why I mentioned the vaping earlier. Like, this is why the network exists, because we couldn't advertise the vaping products on Facebook, couldn't do it on AdWords. With the FDA deeming regulations, we couldn't advertise in newspapers or magazines. It's like, where can we go? We can get in front of influencers. Well, these fuckers want $50,000. Like, no, I just want everyday people that might vape. Boom. Now we have a network.
Cool. What else can we talk about? I liked your comments about if you're buying a PBN link, it's not really a PBN link, it's just a really shitty link.
It's a reality. I mean,
It's a public blog link.
yeah, it's still a PBN. It's a different P.
I think I've been pretty vocal. I don't necessarily have anything against PBNs just because I don't use them. But my argument always is 99% of the time they are done so poorly, and they're just ripping people off, and it's just like, man, you guys got to do some due diligence. I mean, everyone's been there, but yeah, look into the shit, see what you're actually buying.
So it looks like William has a question.
Oh.
He migrated an e-com site, 5 figures per month sales, from a competing agency that used black backlinks to rank them. Any black hat tips to try to maintain traffic, or is that suicide? Wait, what? He migrated a client site. I mean, you could move the link references over if that's what you're asking. I mean, if you have control over the link references, that's fairly nominal. I don't know if that's what he's asking, though.
Well, so, I mean, as long as the slugs on the site are the same after you migrated, that's an easy way to keep the links.
Yeah, I mean, and
Is
also,
that
I'm not sure. I mean, the question's a little bit vague, only in the sense that if...
I mean, does he mean the other agency took the links away, and now he has to suddenly...
If the agency took them away, then yeah, you got to rebuild them. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah. I shouldn't have had that drink. Now I want another. I got 4.
How much more time do you guys got?
We're only about a third the way through or something.
Yeah, 18 hours.
I switched to the Y, and I figured a second whiskey wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah.
So you went from whiskey to wine?
I only got the whiskey originally because my wine glass was dirty. I needed to go and get a clean one, and the whiskey was on my desk. So it's like, what do you do?
I accept this reasoning.
Yeah. The whiskey will be back.
Are you going to any other conferences this year, Joe?
I do very few conferences. So I mentioned I'm going to do Ungag London, and then I'll do SEO Oktoberfest again, Munich. Those tend to be the only couple that I do.
Were we discussing going to Oktoberfest, Steve?
You won't be able to do it
It's closed. Like it's I don't want to be like elitist about it. It's like an invite only thing that's been like pretty closed off for like at least 5 years, where they'll add an additional person or two from the waiting list, and the waiting list is like a mile long.
If you go, Rand tweets abuse at you as well.
Which one is that?
It's the Oktoberfest.
Oh,
Rand
right.
has a little Twitter rant at people that go every year, or at least
Why?
he did this last year.
Oh, you know what? I have a lot to say about Rand and how he goes crazy about optics when he knows nothing about what the fuck is going on. I mean, I have been asked not to actually talk about the thing that he's talking about, only because then it exposes some other issues with the person that even alleged against us. So,
No, that's
Yeah.
fine. I was just giving some background to what happened.
it's a lot of fun. I could care less about the drinking and the beer tents. I don't care about that. But being in the room with those people, it's like I don't get to see them very often. It's
Sure.
like Alex Schultz and Brian People Last Nail. Like they're two VPs at Facebook. Like you don't get that time very much.
Mm-hmm.
So like sitting down with them and Dennis G and like all my friends. I mean, I've known them for a decade now.
Yeah, for sure. Pour another drink. Probably not a good idea.
Sweet. You guys are gonna be. You're not even gonna make it to the end. It's gonna be.
Well, we have to now. Like it's one of those we've started, so we have to.
You
I'm gonna
obviously
randomly
haven't.
tune in like 5 hours later.
Speaking of which, though, we need some help. Like we're getting into where the British people are signing out and going to bed. I'm about to get into the long overnight slog. We need some more viewers, so need you guys to really get out there and share it with your email lists, get some tweets out.
Has anyone heard from Chase Rainier? It's his slot coming up here.
Who invited him? I
did,
remember.
but I haven't heard from him.
Oh, well, sounds like you're responsible for that.
Is there anything in the audience that you would like just to discuss? Anything? Joe can stay on if he wants. If he's busy, he can go. I don't care. We don't have anything lined up.
Oh wow!
We can take some phone calls or something.
Phone calls. You're on the line
some...
with Loveline.
You're on the line with the SEO bot 9000 unit.
Beep, 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 beep. What does it mean to love?
Oh man, we're not going to answer that one on the show tonight. That's too complicated.
I did put a link to a survey in the chat earlier, how we can improve for next year. Obviously, we're kind of flying at the seat of our pants here. Kind of got things
Don't
dialed.
invite Joe, number one.
There's a link again. If thoughts on stapling today, I'm not even going to talk about it.
So like, you know what? So I'm trying to think of the year. I think it was 2013. I did live hacking on stage in Salzburg, Austria. And I did it because we were extremely heavy in the payday industry. And I say extremely heavy in the sense that at one point in time, we controlled 70% of all the organic value in payday. So we knew what we were doing. Well, there's a certain line that I will not cross in Black Hat, and that's hack it. I'm not going to hack someone's shit for my own links. And it exploded. There was a point where over 60% of links was either directly hacked or supported by hacked links. Mm-hmm. So it was just way too heavy. SAPE was largely hacked links. Mm-hmm. So if you were buying SAPE knowing that, I'm not going to judge you, but be careful. Like I would not buy networks like that anymore. I made mistakes, getting into ALN and BMR to the point where I was loading everything in there just because it was working. There was just that beautiful point in time where I could directly say, like, if I've given another $50,000, I'm going to get $100,000. Why wouldn't I do it? And so I just kept doing it. Like when Penguin finally went live, it was like, yeah, okay. We got out of the first iteration pretty quick. We figured out that we could get crazy with the redirects. We were doing things like 503 redirect, 404 redirect, because they only hard-coded 301 as something that wouldn't pass. So we popped out temporarily, and then they hit it again. 1.1 went live in like late May, early June, and that was what finally did us in, crushed us. We're like, all right, we have to fire most of everyone, just start shutting down. It was painful. Do it.
I mean, hack links are kind of doing the rounds again.
They are. There's been a
Big
lot of
time.
shit in the news.
They're called guest posts now.
They're
Apparently.
called niche edits.
Venite and Dimitri, guess I mean, come on.
God,
I mean, they only cost $15 though. They got to be good, right?
You know, and that's a pretty good signal too. If it's like a really good like score, like this is a fantastic like Harvard EDU like homepage.
yeah,
Bucks, it's probably not good.
no.
We got a question about the payday loans industry today. I don't know if you're still involved at all.
I am involved in the industry. I'm not nearly as involved in the lead gen. So I'm more involved in policy.
Okay.
What's a pay-per-click ad bid at these days?
Payday?
Yeah, these days.
I don't know. Like so, like with payday, well, actually, I should know, and the answer should be 0 because Google said they were going to remove all PPC ads on payday.
They said.
Then those
But now they
fuckers
have
went
like 5
around
ads.
and they invested in LendUp,
Yep.
which is a direct competitor.
Yeah.
And the funny thing with that is like, oh, we're not bad, we're good guys.
No, but we're still charging 30.
Their
They still
underwriting
charge.
model is payday.
Yeah, they still charge 35% on a fucking 3-year note.
It was fucking payday. And so like, well, because they had Google investment, they're special. But anyways, yeah, so like it should be 0. More than likely, based on where the lead prices are, it's probably between like 10 and $15 a click. What was weirder was car insurance and life insurance. So we were there's a period of time where we were number 1 for both car insurance and auto insurance with site links on the generic phrase, which was it was so great. 2008. But that's fun. Yeah. So what happened there was after Vince, the insurers started to figure out, hey, we're paying a lot of money for these leads. And they started bidding up to the point where they were willing to lose money the first year of
To kick you guys out.
Yeah, and so it pushed all the affiliates out. So when we were able to earn like $20 a click, which was insane, they were willing to spend $25 a click. Therefore, there was game over for PPC from that perspective. Unless you went like crazy long tail network for a little bit, it wasn't anything that we cared about. Like once it becomes like really low volume like that, there's a space for everyone, but that was never our model, so we just exited that.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's crazy.
So someone's asking about doing influencer marketing where there's not a product, and the example they've given is a non-profit in a city.
Yeah, so like there's a lot of ways you could approach it. There's some fake ways and there's some legit ways. The legit way is to talk about the product. Like, isn't this a great product? This is what I wish I could buy. This is the service that I love. I'm a fan of this. That goes pretty far. That could account for most things. But then there's like the more fun things you could do, where you could approach like UX bloggers and like web bloggers. Like, I just want you to do a review of the site. Do a takedown. Like, describe like what do you think about the color palette? You know, what would you think about the use of these imagery? And a link's a link, right? So, I mean, from that perspective, you can go really far as well. I literally believe that there is no industry that you cannot apply influencer marketing tactics to. And like, I apologize that the term influencer marketing is so crazy popular right now, because it's really just a rehash of old stuff, you know, word of mouth type, concepts. I despise there's a certain group of companies out there that, you know, they're SEO for a while. And then as soon as content marketing got hot, they became content marketing companies, and then inbound marketing companies. Now they're influencer marketing companies. They still sell the same exact product. They just rebrand it.
Yeah.
I hate that shit.
Yeah.
So if you guys are on the call and you're like that, just log off. If the numbers start dropping, it's so sad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's a good point, and I think that's a mistake a lot of people make. Is like, by all means, we should get into the new things where money's being spent by big brands, but you should do it differently than what you were doing before. You shouldn't just be like, oh yeah, I do this now, and not do anything differently. I mean,
I'd also say,
or like you're saying, we should use them just to buy links and to call it influence.
Hey, that's what you can do, and it works. I mean, the other thing is this infatuation with inbound and how selling is bad, that shit needs to end fast.
Yeah, I don't. Mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's
inbound as a concept is so stupid because you're doing outbound. You're either going to have to get links somehow, or you're driving ads to a landing page, or you're. What's inbound about any of this whole thing? It's
so outbound drives inbound anyway. So I always viewed it like pull versus push. The more you're pushing off channel, the more you're going to be able to pull in anyways. So like, you know, it's like ignoring half of your abilities of your car. Like, I only like the brake, I don't like the gas. You're not going to go anywhere. Like, right. I can't stand when Rand goes on his little rants about, you know, sales, and he goes about like selling shouldn't be done this way, but then he'll admit he's never done sales. I've been selling for 2 decades.
Yeah.
There's a big fucking difference when you pick up the phone and call someone.
Right.
Well, he started a SaaS where they only started to grow big enough to make a profit after Ahrefs had already wiped their product out. So his sales strategy is
dad in order to fund it. Yeah, that's classy stuff.
Yeah,
I get some angry emails from this.
Oh yeah, I could say some things, but maybe when I'm hammered in 12 hours.
Yeah, a few hours time, it's going to get out of hand here at this rate. But
we've had to delete some of the episodes of SEO.
Oh yeah, we had to delete a Rand episode because we got a bit too angry with him in one of them.
Yeah, I just don't get it. You've ran multiple bankrupt companies, yet you're considered a god. And even if you're super good at SEO, like, what the fuck? You got to like figure something out here, man.
Well, so he is a very good marketer. I mean, we have to acknowledge that from as a brand marketing perspective, he's great at that.
It is true.
However, I think, you know, some of the success there has colored his opinions on other things where it probably should not have.
True.
I mean, he's out soon. I mean, I don't wish him any ill will. I just wish he wouldn't have such
I don't wish anyone any
hard opinion on things he doesn't know anything about.
Yeah.
He shows his ignorance a lot on Twitter, actually, about all kinds of topics that are nothing to do with marketing, but I guess we really shouldn't get into those.
Well, some of them I won't have a qualified answer anyway. So
no, that's true. It's hardly our area of expertise, is it? So,
what else can we talk about? Do you follow any of the Facebook SEO groups?
I mean, I'm really just in a couple of groups with some friends, and that's about it. Yeah. I know that I'm probably members of a lot of groups, so I tend to get banned by Facebook every month or so. They're 7-day bans, and they're because I get a little bit too aggressive with posting groups. So if you add too many groups per day, and it's based on how many you already have and the rate in which you're adding, or you post too frequently as a first-time post, they ding you. It just lets you know, hey, you can't post again for 7 days. You say okay, then you come back later. So I'm in, I don't know how many thousands of groups right now, but I'm probably in the groups you're talking about. I'm not active.
Sure.
We got a question.
Are they any good?
Well, the reason I brought it up is, like, I was talking to Jared last night. Like, like the SEO communities and the forums are one thing. And, I don't get super involved in the community. And I don't know if that's good or bad. But Steve kind of forced me to get involved in the Facebook world of the SEO groups. And for better, it's been good for business because I don't know how else to say it other than we're better than the people that we're supposedly competing against. But it's really weird because normally you look at someone in a forum and they're up to shady shit or something. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, because that person's on Facebook using their real name and their real pictures and shit, and they're still doing that same seedy, shady shit that is awful, it's like totally acceptable. And they build these groups of tens of thousands of people and worship them. And I don't know, it's just shocking to me that the way it works.
Sorry, there is a lot of group hero worship.
So when you're scraping Facebook groups, you can only get about 8,000 per pool. So no matter how big the group is. Like if you're having trouble with the group itself, but you want to be more involved, just randomly do these scrapes periodically, You get the Facebook IDs. You run them through a service to associate with your email address. Then just do some mailers, and then therefore you don't have to even worry about the groups and what they're doing. You still get the sales benefit.
You don't have to do much to market in the groups.
That's a good
I'm
idea.
kind of interested how the LinkedIn groups are going to pan out when they relaunch those, because I think they're a bit jealous that Facebook took their idea and made it popular.
Yeah, those are pretty weak sauce. Like I'm there's only so many you can to be in, which is, I don't know if that's good or bad. Because I think they limit it to you like to 50, because I'm at the max. I can't add any more. But I never see that stuff in my feed.
They're changing it all. That's what I was meaning. It's going to become, they're going to be really pushing it in the feed now.
Oh, they are? Okay. Well,
It
then
starts, I think
stand
February 18th was the date, for anyone who didn't know.
I did not know that, so that's good to know. As soon as I start seeing it more, then I guess that means I don't have to see the stupid post where they do a sentence and then 3 line breaks and another sentence.
Oh, God, I was just going to say, God damn it.
I was broken,
I'd
homeless,
take
and now I'm a
cut of-
billionaire. Like, come
I did a post about how a mongoose ate my cat.
on.
I don't have a cat and I don't know what a mongoose is, but it did really well. It's my best post on LinkedIn so far.
And you know what? It's stupid. This is LinkedIn. It's supposed to be like perfect. Like I do not like the Facebookification of LinkedIn. Like people doing quizzes and sharing political stuff. Like just post a
Supposed to
job.
be for business. Let's make money.
Yeah. Now LinkedIn
Post-
Sales Navigator,
post
I go
business
back and
sense.
forth on. What?
No, go on.
I was going to say LinkedIn Sales Navigator is a pretty good tool. I use that for our cold outreach. So I run filters based on, someone is an e-com agency. I pull it into group, use Snov.io, and I just run with it. I find that really good because you could find all sorts of weird signals. I mentioned Sears earlier. I found a signal where as soon as you start seeing a company where a lot of their employees go to open profiles, that means layoffs are coming. And they're looking to get out before the layoffs are publicly announced. That was a fun little one where I didn't pick up on it until after I wasted a lot of time.
Okay. We got a question for John Keys. Since you're talking about the insurance industry, thoughts on the quotes starting with the zip code entry? All the top insurance sites seem to use some version.
Yeah, so that was because we just did lots of A/B tests, and that was the one that happened to win. And then we spun it out to about 5,000 sites. So, and like everyone was copying everyone else, and so it proliferated. I would say it does work because when you do it by zip code, you're able to auto-populate their city and state on the form. So it allows you to reduce the amount of data entry. But other than that, it doesn't do a whole lot. Like you're not going to get some specialty advertiser information for what the rate's going to be. Although the consumer tends to think that's going to be what happens.
Okay.
Another one that worked really well is we do them like in the shape of a car, and for whatever reason that had like that little psychological trigger, like, oh, this is car. We tried it for like life insurance, like shape of a coffin, and that didn't do as well. And you just
I have a funny story about that.
Yeah.
In my first job out of university, I worked at a little bank over here, and one of the old boys was doing the life insurance training, and he brought his old kit along, the stuff they used to use to sell life insurance, and it was a coffin, a little coffin this size with a mirror in the middle, and used to be interviewing the husband and wife. And if they said no to the life insurance, you'd go into your bag and get this mirror coffin out and say, hold it up so that the wife could see the husband in there and say, okay, you're dead. How are you going to survive? And she starts like mumbling. And if he tries to say anything, to interrupt and say, oh, no, she'll be fine. It's like, she can't even answer the question without you. You're in here. You're dead. You can't help her. She's on the street
it's
now.
so shady. And then the industry does
That used to be allowed, man. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Good industry in the past. I can't think how we managed to get into a mis-selling scandal over insurance. Let's see. Brandon's got a question. If you want something to talk about, I just launched Gluten Project with TLD.com, which is an aggregator for certified gluten-free products. I'm new to SEO and I'm trying to figure out an SEO strategy.
Okay. Well,
So-
I mean,
Glutenproject.com.
I haven't pulled up the site.
I'm going to say probably going to be categorization is going to be the biggest issue. Like, what type of stuff is it gluten-free? And then I'd probably create a content strategy around being the most authoritative source. I mean, top lists as promoted by my community, all that kind of stuff. I mean, the benefit is there's a lot of examples already in the wild for other industries, like best alcohol or whatever, and you can copy their structure, and you can copy their entire strategy and just apply it to yours. Save time.
I guess it's kind of similar to what Nick was talking about near the top of the show around just building those clusters of content around different themes. So like Joe was saying, you go to gluten-free, I don't know, bread, and then you do different types of bread, like rye and whatever. I don't know anything about gluten-free. I don't know, rye can be gluten-free, but you know what I mean. And you do the different types, and then something else like pasta, and then you do different types of gluten-free pasta, and whatever the term frequency planning reveals to you, and then go from there, I guess.
And that's how I'd approach it. I mean, if I'm coming at it from scratch, absolutely.
I mean, are there any specific areas, Brandon, that you're struggling with planning? I guess to narrow down the discussion a bit.
Link building, content on site.
I mean, if you're really in a bind, I really recommend CopyPress, and they probably help quite a bit with all of that content marketing strategy. They're good guys.
That's Brian Clark, right?
No, that's Copyblogger.
Yeah. Sorry, wrong one.
No, Dave Snyder out of Florida.
I apologize, Dave.
I don't think he's watching. He's too busy.
I hope not. I hope not.
What was I just going to say? Yeah, whatever happened to Brian Clark? I don't hear about him anymore.
He made money with like the Rainmaker thing.
Yeah, well, we tried it and it was fucking awful.
Yeah, like I said, he made money with it.
I'm not afraid to say it.
That's the last I heard it. Like he did that conference. Like I'm a little upset because he did a conference in Denver, and he's like, "Hey, come out to this conference," and I'm like, "Okay, sure." Then I think he replied back, or like one of his staff did. It's like, "Oh, hey, the slot that we were going to have you in is taken. Would you do like a paid advertisement slot?" I'm like, "Okay, sure, I'll help you out." And so I did it. And he slotted me, or they slotted me at the same time as like the main conference, but I'm off all the way over in like a corner room. I had like 5 people in. I flew out to Denver to do this. I'm like, this sucks.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
That was painful. It may not have been anything that he did. It's just it wasn't a good experience.
Yeah, I did think about going to that just to see a different kind of conference, but decided not to in the end.
I think it's a lot like a content marketing world sort of thing, but a lot smaller.
Okay.
Look at this.
I mean, sometimes the small ones can be better because you actually get to meet some people and stuff, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, if the concept is a lot of content inbound guys and it's smaller, that's not necessarily going to make it good.
That's true.
That's kind of how I viewed that little one.
Brandon wants to talk about the relative weight and effort between the content on the site and the link building. I mean, my answer is what your skills are. Like, you should, if you're an amazing link builder and you're terrible at content, then you should outsource all your content writing and planning to people that can do it. And if you're an amazing writer and you're terrible at link building, you should do it the other way around. I mean, they're both going to be super important. So you want to just focus on where your skills are and pay for stuff where you can't do it. Don't know if you guys have got anything smarter to add.
I agree, because I don't necessarily like doing content. I like coming up with ideas for content, and that's it. And I really like building links, and I'm really good at it, so I focus my effort there. If you're unable to do anything on your own, you have a decision to make about probably budget, because you're going to have to be outsourcing everything. So then it's how much time do you take learning one thing and doing that? And that's probably going to take a year or two. So should you have done this or that? I don't know. It's kind of hard to.
Yeah,
say.
I mean, there's a lot of schools of thought on whether you become a generalist first or a specialist first.
Yeah.
I tend to like the idea of specializing and then becoming a generalist from there.